Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about dogs. Now, I'm going to relate human beings to dogs, but I want you to understand that to do that is to pay you the highest possible compliment. But I first want to head back to history and to look at the history between humans and dogs and why I think I can make these comparisons from a psychological level. So we look back at evolutionary history, and I don't want to get into evolution, whether it's real, whether it's not real. We're going to talk about that. But what we are going to talk about is an evolutionary process. And if anyone looks at my Papillon, which you will later, about this big, looks kind of like a gremlin, we can definitely see her DNA is identical to that of a wolf. And so I think all of us can accept that there's an evolutionary process happening here. And in that case, it's selective breeding. It was done by people to create this dog. So when we're talking about the process, we're going to see how people developed. So if we go back into evolutionary time, one of the biggest criticisms of certainly Darwin's theory and evolution is that there's something called the missing link. Now, what the missing link is, we're not sure. So for psychologists or anthropologists, when they look back into history, they see that there was this time that human beings lived in caves and they traveled in small groups and they weren't able to create larger communities. In fact, we're completely ill-adept to survive. We're terrible at surviving. Our senses are terrible. Our sense of hearing is terrible. Our sight is terrible. Our night vision is terrible. We're really slow, and we're completely ill-adept for our environment. Everything about us means we should not have lived. A sloth is more capable of survival than we are. So you have to look at why have we survived? Why have we proliferated? Why do we cover the entire earth? And one of the things that we find this missing link theory is that at one point human beings lived in caves. And that would be, Homo erectus, or the human being that stands up. We lived in very small settings. We traveled, we were nomadic, and really not able to grow as a species. And at some point in evolutionary history, we have no idea what happened. All of a sudden, human beings were able to do agriculture, they were able to cultivate, they were able to spread and grow very large groups. And this is what the missing link is. This is what happened. Well, ironically, with the missing link, we tended to find what also happened during this period of time is that we started seeing humans buried with dogs. And this became very interesting for anthropologists. Why are human beings buried with dogs? They're two totally different species. In fact, we're the only predators to develop this kind of relationship. If you think about it, like lions and bears don't hang out. And with humans and dogs, you have two predators actually co-evolving. We're one of the only species to co-evolve, which means as one evolved, the other evolved. And so as we started developing these relationships with dogs, what's really interesting about this is that is when we started to expand as a population group. Likely what happened is some little puppy lost his mom and dad, started following us around because we leave a trail of trash everywhere we go. And in following us around, we ended up domesticating the canines. And with domestication, at the time, the Canis lupus, or the wolf, was a far evolved species to us. They were miles ahead of our ability to survive in the world, and certainly probably even smarter than we were. When we started living with dogs, our entire world changed. Dogs allowed us to do a number of different things. Obviously, hunt in packs. They're faster than we are, stronger than we are. They're better at hunting in packs. Their sense of smell is certainly evolved. They also allowed us a certain amount of security. If you think about dogs have historically been used for security. Their sense of smell is better, their sense of sight is better. We're now able to form villages and small groups of people that are being guarded in large part due to the senses of the dogs. And this allowed us to evolve. Well, at the same time, dogs were changing too. I always tell people that I learned more from Cesar Millan than I did in any of my graduate school classes. I have some issues with Cesar Millan. We'll talk about it. I don't think it's exactly true. But what you learn about dogs can always be translated to what you learn about people and how you interact with them on that level because they co-evolve. So a dog is very different than a wolf. In fact, dogs can do something that no other creature can do besides a human. And that's called theory of mind. So theory of mind is basically this. It's a very tough concept. It's the idea that what I see is different than what you see. And no other mammal, even you look at whales, there's certainly animals far smarter than both humans and dogs that are not able to do this. What theory of mind means is that you have an understanding that what I see and what I experience is different than what you see and you experience. And this is so profound in dogs. I mean, if you point, the dog will understand that you point. Dogs figure out very complex problems very easily. And all of these are also related to human skills. And so in very much the same way, dogs develop over time. In fact, your average dog has the intelligence and the mastery level of about a 5-year-old human being. And in understanding that developmental process, we can understand a lot about humans and how they interact with one another.